Now, I'm not saying that the old system was wonderful, but what it did do was implement one of the great features of democracy, which is don't let a single party of any sort stay in power long enough to become irredeemably corrupt. And now what we've got is this right-left split, which is exactly the same thing as they've got in the States. Now, the NDP is, thank God, come up the middle, sort of, so to speak. It's not really the middle, but what I mean is they've hived off they've destroyed that dichotomy on left-right the way that you just stated it. I don't think we have a true left-right in that sense. In states they've got a left-right which isn't either left or right. It's between this bunch of crazies and the other bunch of crazies. And thankfully, yeah.
But I would argue, Gavin, that we're not really that different here in Canada.
I know, they're getting worse and worse, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, like the circumstance that I've seen over the last number of years is that the Liberals have kind of staked out a turf whereby they speak the words of the left, but then they govern from the right.
Yeah.
So there's really very little difference anymore between the policies of the Liberals and the Conservatives. And I think the Liberals paid for that in the last election because people were saying, well, the Liberals are scoundrels, we're going to vote for somebody who really means something different. And that's why we saw the surge in NDP, the Orange Crush, as it's been called.
Yeah.
Because people didn't really see a big difference between Liberals and Conservatives. They said, why should we vote for Conservative light when we can vote for Conservative right? So, and I think that's the way the things shook out in the last election. Thank God we have a party, as Mike said earlier, I think it was Mike said earlier, that, the New Democrats are actually a left-wing party. There's no question about that. Although they've tempered somewhat over the years as well. They've moved closer to the center. But I agree with you 100% that in the States, there's really no difference between the Democrats and the Republicans. Michael Moore made a very impassioned plea in that regard earlier on when asked why he supported Ralph Nader in one of the previous elections. I forget which one it was. And he said,
2000.
I was supporting somebody who was different.
Yeah. Well, and somebody who was honest about what he was running for and against.
Right.
I don't disagree with you at all. I think that's exactly right. But the question at this point is going to be, if the Liberals go away, which I'm not in favor of, then we've got a real dichotomy between the right Conservatives and the left NDP. I'm not at all against the left NDP, but I would hate to have to fight an alternative battle every 4 years or whatever it happens to be between the extreme left and extreme right. It's just a recipe for disaster. You have warring policies going on all the time.
Right.
Just not nice.
Okay, guys.
So
this is an interesting perspective on the Canadian political landscape. But what if you guys can both stick around till after a song? I'd like to ask you a question. Give you the time of the song to consider it. How does the existence of the Occupy movement affect the Canadian political landscape? Can they interact with a party? Like, would you suggest a certain party that they join? Is there a party that is willing to cater to what you expect their demands may become in the fullness of time?
Or what kind of approaches can people take to the existing political structure and take the Occupy movement and bring it to another level and interact with parties and with government?
Is this something we can talk about after the break?
Sure.
I'm game. Yep.
Awesome. Okay. Well, let's go to Panico, Pasa.
fucking bullshit here, man. Latin bullshit. I don't believe in that stuff. I cannot. Pasa, güey. ¿Qué pasa, güey? Con tu cabeza, güey. And what's happening right now? I don't know what it is. Fuck it up. Woo! Hey, come on. ¿Qué pasa, güey? ¿Qué pasa, güey? ¿Qué pasa, güey? Con tu cabeza, güey. I don't believe in that stuff. ¿Qué pasa, güey? ¿Qué pasa, güey?
That was "Que Pasa Way" by Panico. How's it going, Mike? Dave, Gavin, are you still with us?
Yep.
Great.
Yeah, I'm here.
Awesome. Okay. I know it's a big topic, but how does the Occupy movement interface itself politically to achieve results, and how do existing parties position themselves with respect to the Occupy movement to take advantage of that?
Well, want me to go first?
Go for it. Yeah, sure.
If I'm truthful, the answer is I haven't a clue. But I'm not truthful, so no, that's not true. I try to be truthful.
Yeah.
And the answer to me is that there are natural allies. One is the NDP, of course, for the Occupy movement, and you can see some drift of some people like Olivia Chow and I can't think of others at this moment, but there have been others who drifted over and said hi. But they're not about to go get in bed with them because it's too much of a loose cannon. So they're going to hang around the fringes. Now, what should the Occupy movement do? I think they should just keep their position now, not join up with any party, and just call in the suitors and say, look, what are you going to offer? Because what they're going to do, if they're successful, and this will take some time, but is that they will form a constituency around their own program, whatever it might be. And actually, it's not so fuzzy. People say, what do they want? But it's actually fairly clear. They want a divorce between big business and big government. They want a stable financial system, and well, a couple of other things along those lines. It's not all that hard to figure it out. So what they're really campaigning for is that divorce, that the big capital, the 1%, should get out of their face and get out of government, at least to a larger degree. So that means they probably shouldn't join any particular party, but should keep the feet to the fire on all of the parties.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think what we're seeing, I do agree that we've been seeing a lot of tentativeness among some of the groups that should be natural allies of the Occupy movement. And in that, I include anti-poverty groups, organized labor, and left-wing politicians. But I think that tentativeness is for some of the very reasons that Gavin has just described. One thing that I think could be the death knell of the Occupy movement is that they become too closely allied with some of these groups and become usurped by some of these various groups, specifically and particularly, I should say, the left-wing political movement. Although they're natural allies, that 99% of the population covers the entire political spectrum. And one way to alienate big parts of it is to become too closely allied and identified with any one particular political party or any one particular movement.
Do you want to take a run at that one, Mike? Mike, you still there?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. That's a very good point that Dave made, and I think we mentioned that before on the show, where rightfully so, the NDP, while they hold certain positions that are going to ally themselves with the same concerns of the Occupy movement, that to jump up and down and get really excited about pulling all this support in early on is probably not a great idea. However, over time, I think the question becomes, how many people at the Occupy movements, I'm glad they're out there being active and being protesters. Actually, I don't even like the word protesters. That's why I like the word movement better, the Occupy movement. However, the question becomes, how many of these people are willing to take part in the political process? Because we can sit around and we can talk about a whole bunch of great ideas, from direct democracy to just different approaches to politics, and have no way to implement them. Or we can actually take ourselves and also become occupiers of influencing government and making our choices and coming out and voting. And even though I say voting isn't an end answer, it is part of the answer. People need to get involved in the actual process. The more people that are engaged in the political process and go out and vote, the more that the voice can be heard by politicians. What is it? 2/3 of people over 50 vote, where I think it's a quarter of people under 25 vote. And this Occupy movement has a large constituency of young people. And I just really hope that people in the Occupy movement realize that their protest activism, while it's important, it also has to be augmented by political action within our current system. You can't change the entirety of the system in one fell swoop. So the only way is to get involved in the current system first.
I absolutely agree with you on that one, Mike. And again, like, although I agree with you that the Occupy movement has to politically interface with our existing system, I also think that the movement has to accommodate people that